Well, thank you everyone for coming. So we've had a lot of interest in making writing more feasible in classes, especially large classes. And I think we're onto something here. As Kaja was saying, Karen is this amazing writer. My disciplinary background is veterinary pathology, so I'm not a writer. But I kid the PFFers that Karen is an expert in writing, and I'm an expert in writer's block. So we make a really good pair. So, like so many things, this started with an instructional problem. And I'll tell you a story that I think is going to be familiar to many of you that is across campus. But this really kind of tugged at my heart a few weeks ago. One of the PFF students, I call them PFFers, came in and she was teaching a large class. It was over 100 students, and as a graduate student by herself. And she was in tears, and she had made herself absolutely sick because the classes, when they used to be taught by faculty, the classes were small, and the faculty assigned lots of term papers. Now they've become over 100, and they're being taught by graduate students, and they're still requiring the same number of term papers. So she had just gotten done with grading over 100 long-term papers, and she's very diligent. So she had put all sorts of, feedback all over them, written extensively on everyone, pulled an all-nighter, just wore herself out. And she handed them back, and then watched people pick up their paper, and look at the grade, and then without looking at any of the feedback, drop it in the bin on the way out. Yeah.
I know that you feel that, unless they're required to do a rewrite.
That's the key, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's the absolute key. I think we need a lot of that wisdom across campus, because that's really the way it's going to reform things. So, and then there's my story, which was in 2009. Karen and our then director, Steve Michelson, showed up at my office one day over at the vet school and sat down and said, "We're not leaving until you come to SELF and be director of Preparing Future Faculty." The reason that they wanted me to come was to direct the Preparing Future Faculty program. The director who had started the program was retiring, and she was an English professor, very eminent teaching English professor. Well, anyway, long story short, she and Karen mentored me and, got me up to speed. And I found myself, having these courses where, you're having students prepare oodles of job materials. You're teaching philosophy, cover letter, data, and all these research statements, et cetera, et cetera. And I have no experience with line editing or not line editing or trying to figure out, what an English professor does, right? That's just not something that I was expert with. And also, most of our students are STEM. So imagine a first draft of teaching philosophy written by an engineer or a veterinary medicine. Mm-hmm. Not the type of writing that they're used to doing, right? And so they were horrifying when I saw them. They were just like, I was just aghast. I didn't know where to start. And their classes of like 68. So there's lots of these papers and then we wanted them to write a couple drafts, but I didn't even know where to start. So Karen and I put our heads together, and I said, "You're a writer." And so, and we, I've been developing ThinkSpace with Pete and now the Sixth Edge group. And so we developed some tools that have made it go from, when I look at these things, I want to jump off a bridge, to when I look at these things, it's absolutely, it's fun for the students, it's fun for me, and it's easy. And best of all, the end result, it used to be horrible, and now they're amazing. So I just wanted to share what we've been doing, and I know that we can improve upon this, and I'm hoping to put together a cohort of writers that are people that want to put writing into their courses, and we can share this, and then you can help tweak it to fit your courses. Maybe you'll improve on it, and I hope you do. So I'll be happy to take any of your ideas too. So when I would assign making job material, of course everybody knew that this was important. This is really, really high stakes for them. But nobody wants to do it. It's really tough. And, they found it painful when you read their material. It looked like it was painful to read. And it was extremely painful for us to edit and grade and all that sort of stuff.
But an important thing to note here is their motivation level did not change. Okay, so before our redesign, they knew they needed these documents for the job, right? After the redesign, that motivation is still there. So it's not like an assignment where they just write it for class and leave it, right? They knew that this was going to be important for their lives later. We had that level of motivation is still there, so that's really not an issue. But I think that makes what we created more valid because the motivation level was the same throughout. But the product has improved immensely.
And you have a whole class of people that are extremely emotionally invested and very frustrated at the same time.
Actually, I would say the motivation there will be a change. If they see their products improving,
and they get more invested,
yes,
more drastic.
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess we should revise that to say the base motivation of knowing you're going to need it after class is the same.
Could it be your confidence improves? Because the motivation, you come to you sign up for this because you want to be good. You see yourself, this is a career. But the more you have the proper tools to express who you are, your confidence.
Absolutely. And we will show you some quotes that will prove what you say. It's very insightful.
We're hoping that what we give you today are things that you can take right into your experiences, the people you help, or the classrooms that you're currently running. And this kind of thing, I think you can take pieces and parts of it. You don't have to take all of it. So just kind of like if you see something that looks really interesting to you, please don't be shy about asking questions about it.
So we do the whole thing by team-based learning, and you see a couple of teams here.
That's our actual class.
And this close team, we're going to show you, gotten permission from them to show some of their work. They're teams of 6 and 5. And so our goals, of course, we want this course, Graduate Studies 586, that we're teaching right now. Really the goal is, there's a couple of goals, to get them their dream job. And then once they're there, hit the ground running, because we do some pedagogy and communication and things like that. But a lot of the work is creating these job materials. We also, because it is a pedagogy class, we want to model good pedagogy. So we want to, make it a really good model and do what I like to call twofers, where you're teaching them something but also modeling it. And then we wanted to bring them together as learning teams. And so, and we want these materials to be fun for them and easy to assess for us. And I think we're doing pretty well on that. So, Karen.
Okay. So we've got a ringer in the room who already knows how we do things in English. And what we tried to do is harness that for STEM. And so it really kind of works the same way, because we would have this sort of scaffolding of examples so students kind of know what it is they're being asked to write. So we gave them examples of the different types of job documents. So written by previous students, but also they're required to go out and find stuff written by who they dream to be 5 years from now. So they go find like an ideal faculty person that they want to be at the institution they want to be at and look at some of their materials. And then we have experts come in and talk about what the best things are to have in your teaching life and so on. The same thing for English. Show them what they do, how to do it. And then we start helping them build this piece by piece. And so in English, it's going to involve a lot of practice things, some smaller assignments that weave together into a larger one. In PFF, we've separated these parts out into ThinkSpace. So you'll be seeing later how we have separated these into different question areas, different rewriting exercises, things that help them build the parts. And then, as Rima said, the multiple drafts are a really important part of being an English teacher. As we saw, if you give them a paper at the end of the semester with a bunch of writing on it, they put it right in the bin. They don't look at that writing, they don't care. They're like, oh, I want my grade and get the heck out of here, I just need to see, right? Cool. But multiple drafts, as Rima noted, can raise that investment quite a bit. You know, I've got a thing that I'm trying to get to a final area. And then, one of my favorite things about English is we love to critique the heck out of each other, especially creative writers. This is how we survive. It came from Iowa Writers Workshop, which you guys may have heard of. It's the most prestigious writing workshop in the country. This is absolutely vital for my process as a writer. I've published about 20 things since we graduated in 2013. And, you know, I always have my stuff looked at by a small group of other people that have gone through my thing. All throughout the MFA, we're having people look at our work and comment. Like, we really learn how to comment on each other's stuff. And so Holly was like, how can we use this in the classroom that's not the creative writing classroom? And so we're trying to adapt my expertise of going through many years of creative writing group to how can we put this in. Also, for the last 10 years, I've written a novel every year for National Novel Writing, which is an extremely active community of crazy, dedicated people here in the East Des Moines area. We write together. So we write at the same time together using a lot of rewriting stuff. And so that was something else that we wanted to build in. And then critique from experts is sort of our last, what we do as English professors. We would write on the papers, give them the advance. Okay, here, now that you've had your group look at it, here's what we, the expert, would say on semicolon use or whatever. So we send them to the Writing Center and the Center for Communication Excellence, which is a brand new center that's been formed in the graduate college to help graduate students and postdocs with their professional work. So like research papers, etc. as well. And then students are also asked to take it to their faculty mentors. So an important part of PFF is each person has a mentor that they actually get to talk about careers with instead of just their research. Right? And so those mentors have very kindly looked at all these materials and as an expert in the discipline have commented and have said, okay, well, you know what, you're an engineer and you're teaching philosophy statement in 3 pages. No one's going to read that. Make it one, you know, like, so they help them with that specific knowledge. So, ThinkSpace, we believe, really helps with the scaffolding that we talked about here, building part by part. Okay, so here's what we've done. We have worked into ThinkSpace areas where they can write during class as free writing and brainstorming. So you'll see boxes where we have them free write and brainstorm, and we time them. Just like we writers at NaNoWriMo get together and we write 30 minutes where you're writing as fast as you can. You've got, I'm going to write 800 words, these 30 minutes, and you have to report to everybody else in the room how far you got, so that really helps us write our novels. And so we time them for 3 or 5 minutes. We write as fast as we can. And so they get all this material put into ThinkSpace with the free writing. And then, using a kind of programming that's possible inside ThinkSpace called Carry Forward, it can pull those responses from each of those boxes into a new document or a new page where they can then cut and paste. They've got it all together there, kind of in the order you've specified because you set up the programming yourself. And they've got like a rough draft there, made up of their responses to the free writing questions. So they've got raw clay so they can then start shaping.
That gets them off the dime, right? I mean,
So essentially, kind of, you give them an outline, and then they just put it.
And then we time them. We give them, and everybody in the room, and you cannot stop. You cannot lift your fingers from the keyboard You have to, and if you can't think of anything to say, and we have writing prompts, above each one, and if you can't think of anything to say, you can put your grocery list on there. It doesn't matter, but you just need to keep going, and a lot of trash will come out, but a lot of good stuff will too. Karen, you talk about this a lot, and I've heard this in the comments about the energy in the room. In fact, Amy Slagle came and talked one time when we were doing this. And she said, I just feel the energy. Everybody's
Yeah, it really makes a difference. For me as a writer, when I'm doing National Novel Writing Month, you have to write 50,000 words in 30 days, the month of November. It's not an easy month for an academic, right? And so we're gathering at coffee shops every evening, and then we have these 6-hour-long writing sessions on the weekends where we get together, right? But also, during my lunch break, I'm over there in the periodical room praying out and tries to talk to me. The periodical room is quite long. Anyway, and I'm trying to write, and I'm like, I'll come up with like 250 words by myself. And then that night I'll go to a write-in, and in one 30-minute session I'll have 800 words. Because everyone else in the room is writing away. We're simultaneously, as TBL says, the 4 S's, if you guys remember, simultaneous is one thing. We're doing this thing together. And you just feel like you're not alone. Even though you'll never read anyone else's novels, right? It's just that energy of you've got a time deadline. You've said what you're going to be doing for that deadline. Everyone else is doing it. It just sort of lifts everyone up and helps them, their brain do things they never thought they could because it strips away those blocks. Because you're like, I got this thing, I need to do it. And so creatively, it can work really well for a novel. But then also when you have to write your brush list, keep things flowing, it can have some problems there. But that's what the next thing here is for. Those multiple drafts. So we tell them, we've got this great energy, we've gotten everything sort of out. Now we carve that away down to the parts that you're going to keep.
So the experts I've read books on free writing for my writer's block, and they say that what you have to do is keep your fingers going faster than your inner critic, and then it doesn't matter. You can put all sorts of trash, but there will be good stuff right there too. So my
Anne Lamott has a term for this.
Yes, a shitty first draft.
Yeah.
Hey, I thought you were doing pizza.
Bird by bird. Yes.
That's a great book if you guys are interested. Anne Lamott, Bird by Bird.
Bird by bird?
Yeah, and it's because her little brother had to write a research paper about birds of America or something like that. And she's like, well, how are you going to write this? He asked his dad, how am I going to write this? The answer was, Bird by Bird. Yeah. It's a great book.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm looking up the term iterative. I know what that means in context, but when I'm trying to learn something new, I don't want it to get past because it's talking about utterance. So can you explain what the iterative process is?
Sure. So you write this first draft, and then you take it home and you shape it a little bit, right? The quote from, I think it was Michelangelo, said that he looked at a piece of granite and he just removes everything that isn't the angel. You try to find the good stuff and you throw away the grocery list, right? And then you shape it into a good first draft, and then you get critiqued by your peers, and then you do another draft, and then you get critiqued by the writing center. You do another draft, then you get critiqued by your mentor, and then you do your final draft.
So an iteration really means versioning in this case.
Complete a cycle and then go back.
Okay. So unlike our PFFer story at the beginning, where she just gave them all this stuff, they weren't, as Shelley was saying, they weren't held accountable to actually incorporate it. And so, Pete's talking about this all the time. If you see the grade, that's often where it stops. I think any of us that have gotten a rejection from a journal, should probably be all of us, right? And you don't really want to look at all their comments. You're just like, oh, I got rejected, and you put it in the drawer for a while until you can get it out. But, you're motivated to resubmit it. But students, if they have no motivation to resubmit, they don't even look at the comments often.
Yeah, I just think it's really, really painful for students. And I get it totally because I did the same thing, right? The paper the day before it was due. Just the thing is to get it in, and if that, passes as A, you're okay, but don't make me rewrite it. Just to, so learning to reimagine is, even for upperclassmen, is surprisingly new.
Yeah. I think the majority of my stories that I've sold have been, they've been through the editing process. It's very rare for I have an idea, I sit down, I write it, and I'm like, this is pretty good. Let's just send it to this one market, just in case. And very few times it has been accepted right off the block. Then of course I look at it again, I'm like, I really should have tweaked this spot, made it a little bit better. Oh well, I got my $20.
I think students in the English department are probably, more, a little more educated into the rewriting. And I teach predominantly students from across the curriculum. So that's where it's just not something it's not even why should we do this, And it's that relevance piece that you were referring to earlier. Why is this relevant? Why are you making me do this? And it's not until maybe they see how much that benefits them that they go, oh, okay, I get it now.
So you have to really go through a lot of that resistance.
At least that's my experience.
I see some students quoting saying, I can feel my writing skills getting stronger. And so we hope that they're going to be taking this skill set after college, which is what any teacher hopes.
You're actually training them to think in a certain way and working for them and making it a habit. It'll be interesting to see how it transfers.
Yeah. Well, actually, I teach 4 classes and 3 every semester, and there's one called Graduate Studies 587, which is a teaching practicum, and we get together. And I did have a student that came in and said, "Gosh, that free writing thing. Now I'm starting to use that on my manuscripts, and I can write a lot faster now."
Makes our class go.
Yeah. And I know that it's not everybody's style. That other people would just rather, write an outline and go from there. It's just, I was finding a lot of people just sitting with a blank page stuck, and this gets them off, and running.
And this last point here, I think ThinkSpace really shines here because it has the peer commenting feature. Because as I've been an English major for how many decades? Back in the day, Holly was just telling a story about dinosaurs today. That's kind of how I feel. Back in the day, when I was an English graduate student in my creative writing classes, you had to bring 8 copies of your story, and give them to your team, and then they had to read them in between, and then the next time they had to remember to bring all those pieces back with the comments. It was just so much stretched out in time and resources, and English teachers having a printing amount of paper you could print per semester was gold. I remember. But with ThinkSpace, there's no printing, there's no time delay. We can say, hey guys, everybody remember to have your thing turned in by Friday, so that your team can comment on them over the weekend, and we can talk about them in class on Tuesday, and they do it. And by Tuesday at 3 p.m., they have all 5 of them have written comments on each of their 5 team members' stuff, and it's all right there in ThinkSpace. Nobody has to remember to bring a piece of paper. They can do it while they're at a coffee shop. They can do it, anywhere. That's a real strength with ThinkSpace.
And it's not spread up across 5 different applications either. It's all in one spot.
Yeah, they can see what each other are saying, and kind of they can have a mini discussion. I agree with so and so. I don't agree with so and so. This is what we do when we share a team. Now we have incorporated sharing out loud and critique into our class. If you spend time in class doing that.
We're getting to that right now.
Yes.
So this is the first example. We're going to give you 3 examples of things that we do, writing things that we do. And one is the teaching philosophy, which I found was absolutely the perfect recipe for writer's block, especially with the STEM students. People in history and English, they have no trouble with this, but they're a very small minority of our class. And so they do this brainstorm first. They do free writing, then that carries it forward into a format that's sort of a template. And then we do this, what Karen is talking about. They critique each other's stuff on ThinkSpace by commenting, and then they get the Writing Center critiques, and then they get their mentors. So we're going to show you how this looks.
Well, this is loading. It's useful to comment that there's a danger zone here. As writers, often we can write something in the same day and show it to each other right then. That is not true for the people who aren't English majors. I tried to have them write something in class and then show it to each other, and it was like open revolt. They wanted time to go back over it and make sure they weren't sounding dumb to their teammates. They just didn't have that confidence. So if you have them write something in class, give them time to revise it before they need to show it to their team.
Within the class period, or maybe the next time, or
like if you have them write something within the class period, I would recommend not having it looked at by anyone until a later class period. So they have like they can sleep on it and then go back in and fix it or whatever, or decide not to. But like
they get better at sharing immediately by the end of the semester.
You know, we have so many PhD candidates and postdocs. They're very perfectionistic, and it's embarrassing for them, you know. And they're just not, you know. We have 1 English major. I don't think we have any history majors. So you know, it's mostly STEM folks.
this is our actual live class that you're looking at.
Karen got permission for us to look at one of these teams. So this is sort of, we can go through it here, but this is where we're trying to get them warmed up. So we give them writing prompts here. What would be the best compliment anyone could give you on your teaching? What do you hope your students might say at your retirement? You know, those sorts of things. And then we make them write really, really fast for 3 minutes, and we time them, and everybody's just like madly typing away.
With 50 other people next to you, and you're like, okay, I've heard things. Oh, I would like that. You know, like it's just really.
Describe the best teacher you've ever had. You know, this is just to get them starting to think. And so we're going to look at one of our students here.
So when you are an instructor, you would go into the grade book and just pull down the list of students that are there and look at what they have written.
Yeah, so you can see anybody's, as an instructor, you can see anybody's work here. So, oh yeah, so you can, you know, they can write as long.
That's what you did in 3 minutes of just free writing.
And then, you know, you go up, then we timed them for the next one and the next one, you know, again, you can hold these.
You tell them they don't have to have proper grammar or spelling or anything. Just
Do not edit yourself. Do not do anything. Spelling mistakes, whatever, just write. And then they submit that, and then we had them, there's a, the Wash U in St. Louis has this really nice website on teaching philosophy. So, and it divides the teaching philosophy into 4 different sections. And so that's the way we just sort of made a draft. You know, why do you teach? What do you teach? How do you teach? And then how do you assess what you're teaching? And so we thought that would be a nice outline for them to start a draft. I know it's 4, it's not 3. It's close. So then we give them these prompts. Why are you drawn to teaching? What are the rewards and challenges, et cetera, et cetera. And then again, we just, get out our iPhone and start timing them, and they just write. And again and again and again. And so you see that there's a lot of text here. And when they submit that, it automatically goes to the next one. And we pulled those things out into this formatted teaching philosophy statement.
Is the first page carrying forward too?
Yes, it's at the bottom. So at the bottom, we have just kind of this place where they could mine from their free writing if they wanted to.
Okay.
So those are the bullets. Round out your draft by pulling sentences, blah, blah, blah.
And you don't have to pull the whole thing. You can just pull selected pieces forward for them to work on it.
Those are like the notes that you have created.
Okay, any box that you have them type into, you can have that pulled forward in whatever order you want, with whatever lines of instruction or outline between that you would like.
Some highlighting and then saying carry forward.
I mean, you set that up.
We'll show you the program.
Yeah.
We'll show you how that's done, but that's how you set it up, saying that you want these sections carried forward to the next phase into this framework, and so that they can build on it later on.
No, none of my degrees are in math or computer science or anything like that, and I was still able to figure out the programming. So it's not too difficult, but it's also not, like push a button easy yet.
And it's getting that's the next iteration that's being developed right now, that it's going to be easier to do that. And then sneak preview. Pete has been doing this amazing stuff works from his easy chair, he says, and he's incorporating kind of like a Google Doc in here. It's actually better than a Google Doc that has all sorts of functionality that you can do to it. But right now, for the time being, you just copy and paste this into a Word document, and then you upload it.
So this is a list of verbs they can use if they really are feeling stuck. So that's why we've included this.
And then you can make a PDF out of it and then upload it into this draft.
So it's making PDF and all this outside of
Right. Right now it is, but when Pete gets done, it's going to be all with it.
Maybe we can.
And you might have to pull that.
They're there. Okay.
These are what her team said.
So she's got 4 other team members, and at home, she's uploaded this. Karen's given them a deadline to put in their comments. We've given them a little lecture. Karen gave them a lecture on what to do and what not to do in a teaching philosophy statement, like, do not lecture your hiring committee on how bad it is to lecture. Because a lot of them will be lecturers, and you're going to offend them, and that's like, that's really dumb. Shooting yourself in the foot. And numbers of other things, right? And it used to be that they would, yeah, and then they'd write those sorts of things in their teaching philosophy, and then I would pull my hair out. But now they've got their classmates that are saying this to them. It's so wonderful. And so you can see that, all these different people have given Amanda.
So they've typed these in over the weekend, and then in class we spent 30 minutes of them telling each other, I didn't agree with Constantine when he said this because blah, or I really agreed with this thing, see it's like what I said.
So now this is all done at home. In class, they come to class, everybody's sitting in a circle in each team, and we give every student 5 minutes for their team members to explain their comments. And they have to, as the Iowa Writers Conference does, they have to pretend, the student that's being worked on at the time has to pretend like he or she has invisible duct tape over their mouth. And they cannot say anything while everybody else is telling them that. They have to just take notes.
What this presents is defending every little thing that they did. Right? And so then it gives enough time for the other 4 or 5 people to say, here's all of our thoughts. And then their job is just write down all this stuff, decide what to keep and what to discard from that. And then at the very end, they're allowed to ask clarifying questions or make a small comment, but they're being time, so they can't monopolize by defending why their thing is perfect.
They get 2 minutes to sort of clarify. And then you move on to the next student. You do the same thing, and on and on and on. And they take that, and they take what, they get to judge what they want to use and what they don't want. And then they go in and upload another draft based on that.
And she just uploaded this one. Maybe great. Oh, actually, okay.
Keep me honest.
I don't know how many of you were reading her thing, but she's changed all of the titles. She is applying for a job, and then materials is due April 10th. She's meeting with me first week of April to go piece by piece over all of her materials and check them. So she's very motivated to be doing her drafts.
And so, and this is she's gonna take this to the writing center, and then she'll upload another draft, and then she will.
Can you just show them also how that commenting works right there? So when you click on the draft, second draft.
Oh yeah. So if you click.
How does that commenting button work?
You click anywhere in the writing of the PDF, a window will pop up on the right to hold your comment. But the reason why we have their team look at it, because that's the least experienced input for the most rough draft, right? Then they take it to the writing center and they get some instruction on how to do something. See anything, and then you can also move that comment up and down in the column to match next to the paragraph you want it to connect to.
Oh, and it stays there?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And at some time we'll have Jay Newell come in. He has this he's a journalism professor, and he got tired of saying the same thing over and over and over on everybody's stuff. And so he's got this, it will save your favorite comments to a library. And so you can then just drag in the comments that you use commonly. And he's got it all indexed into different types of comments, and we'll get him in.
So the point of this is you've got the people who know what a teaching policy statement should be like from what they learn in class, who are not grammatically expert or whatever, looking at the raw material. Then it goes to the writing center, where they expertly tell them, here's how you're using the writing correctly or incorrectly. Then they take it to their mentor. By now it's been through several drafts. The mentor's getting something actually that's reasonably polished, so that the disciplinary focus isn't interrupted by an awkwardness of language or a difficulty with grammar that doesn't have to distract the professor expert at all, because they've got a pretty polished thing to look at. And then the mentor can give pretty good responses for here's.
And we love our mentors, and we don't want to make them crazy, so, we want to give them the last say.
And so what we do for the students is we just ask them to paste what their mentor said. Now, Amanda hasn't finished these assignments yet because we're class mid-semester, they're not due yet. But there's just a box on ThinkSpace to enter what your mentor said. And that's another part of by asking the student to reiterate in their own words what they learned from their mentor, cements that learning at a deeper level. And so then the final draft that we get is beautiful.
What I didn't see and understand that I could have missed is when I'm updating, I'm practicing I'm doing my iteration. How am I doing the next draft? That's the carry forward version.
So yeah, carry forward takes all your free writing, and then you as the student are instructed to select all of that with your mouse and paste it into Word.
And then I can change that document and fix that one up. So I'm
Yeah.
editing right there on the.
Yeah, right now you can't edit right on ThinkSpace in the carry forward.
But he's working that out. He'll show what he's working on right now. But it works.
But now I kind of pull it in my own little thing, and then I upload it.
Exactly. And see, it's just that next bubble, right? So you know where to put it.
A lot of students are uncomfortable editing for a long period online.
Yeah, me too.
So kind
But you could create a box on the second page and you could just paste from the C.
Gee, wait till you see my book.
So have you found, and maybe this is less of an issue with graduate students, but have you found that those first level comments from people who are not professional writers or not as tuned in, that they're making comments that are maybe sending somebody in the wrong direction? Have you had that at all?
That's why we have the writing center come in afterwards. Right there, what I have found best is as I'm wandering around the room, hearing the students defending their comments, I hear myself, I hear Karen coming back at me and what we had told them, and so they're really helping them shape this more as a professional thing, not so much the grammar and that sort of stuff. Although there is that too that's going on.
Yeah, so there's 9 teams, and Holly and I patrol during that 30-minute review. And if we do hear something that is like somebody is kind of leading in a different way, we can say, well, what about such and so? And we ask questions until they boil down to the, what they actually should be doing.
But you said you teach them how to kind of critique. I think that's a skill in and of itself too, or it takes them at least setting the culture of the classroom to say, here's how we help.
And it's important to teach them, what we can do. But also a lot of the difficulties in that are evened out by using team-based learning. Because you've got these 4 or 5 people that are all responding to this one document. And if there's something that's really wrong, they're all going to be saying the same thing. But if there's one like outlier who's arguing something, there's going to be another person that's like, no, I'm not sure she's fine here. Don't worry about that. They really police themselves and each other pretty well. Because it's rare that all 5 people didn't hear the instruction correctly.
Plus, what I always hear, and I love hearing this, is like, I loved how you said that. Can I use that in mine? And so you get all this inspiration from each other. And I hear that all the time, so it's really cool.
I do think for freshmen, that's could be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing you could do is build a case where you just focus on how to write good comments and have that practice.
Yeah, I think in my experience, students, and they appreciate the fact that they need to practice how to give feedback in a positive, constructive way. So that's one level that I found, is helpful to kind of, help them think through that, and then so they can practice it. And then the other thing is how to hear the criticism, because that's really hard for all of us.
Without taking it personally.
Yeah, without taking it personally, or thinking that just because somebody said it, I have to do it that way. And even for professionals, I used to work in publishing where you get professional comments from people pre-publication. Well, not every professional comment you get needs to be acted on just because they're a scholar.
Fighting with your editor is a true skill. Which I use all the time. When an editor sends me something and I'm like, what? I'm not doing that.
You're actually, they need to evaluate the comments to make sure it's something that's going to add value to what I've done.
Yep. And they're the ones that are applying for the job. So, they really do need to make that decision.
Right, you have it built into TDL too.
What's that?
You have it built into TDL.
Right.
Where you have to give it a constructive comment.
And we just gave the peer evaluation the other day, so we've got that also in ThinkSpace now. It's a beautiful tool that helps you do peer evaluation. But I guess in my experience, this whole way of people having to not say anything, it makes it so they pause. And so they're not so defensive.
And they listen.
Yeah, because they've written it down already, and it gives them a chance to kind of get over it a little. And then we keep them in the same team throughout the whole course, so you can just see them getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And right now, they're just like best buddies.
They are smiling and laughing.
It's fun for them.
really helpful.
Students like that in my experience. Yeah. So after taking the team-based learning, I mean, get them in those teams and keep them there because they just develop that cohesiveness.
And on occasion, if they do have something that they've heard in team that they're concerned about, they will ask me or Holly about it. Outside of class or later, they'll write and say, my team said this. I really don't feel as bad as a thing for me. And then we'll say, well, this is a really great question for your mentor or the writing writer. Here's my thought on it. Because when you're teaching 65 students, sometimes you have a 40 department spread in there. I'm English, history, anthropology, Holly's veterinary pathology, and lots and lots of other things that she's an expert at. Because I learned from her every day. But, we can't know everything, even with 13 years of working for BFF experience. It's still, I've been reading these things for a long time. And, we don't know. The mentors are the ones who.
There's certainly field-specific preferences, too. So this is the second.
If I may add, what strikes me when you say that, when students say, oh, I love that, can I use it? It's just the culture change that is evident there. And I think about, how our training back in India in schooling was, how we would write questions this way. That's how it is. Nobody is allowed to this mind, and I will not share it with you. So that sharing, I think, is a huge culture change. It's like that. And then yes, we'll have cliques who will be sharing stuff. But not
mindset.
It's interesting to think of it as a cultural.
Oh yeah, I mean that. I love TBL. I love what they do, and I keep on saying, okay, if I were to do this back in India, how would I break that barrier, that training which has been inherent since childhood, that you do not share your work.
But that perspective also is here. It's just like individual.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Yeah.
Because we're just talking about it. If you work together and you share,
that the team performs better than the individual. So that perspective.
I think that's why it's really important if you're using any kind of team or group learning to have that, this is plagiarism, this is not plagiarism discussion at the beginning. Like, you guys are allowed to do this project together, share stuff back and forth, but this other thing, doing stuff. But in BFF, what's really great is that they are each doing their own individual document of a job search, and if they get inspired by each other with the stuff they find online, that's what the stuff is for. So, we have this lucky, unique situation in the fact that everybody's research statement is going to be pretty darn unique, especially with 40 department spread. You're going to have a plant pathologist explaining their research to a historian. They're going to be completely different, but there are still elements of a good research statement. How do I explain
that it's easy to understand for a layperson?
And they're like, well, but I'm going to be giving my research statement to other people in my discipline that are on the hiring committee. Not necessarily, and certainly being able to communicate your research really clearly as well, even to people that are in every meeting, is really important. So, I think it's okay for them to borrow from each other.
I agree.
It's interesting to study their understanding of their content by doing the exercise.
And it's like that same thing that we were talking about, how they have to say back what their mentor said. Just them thinking about, Holly's going to tell you some really great stuff that we do to get them to, saying that.
Yeah. So y'all know when you go on a job interview, you got to have an elevator speech, right? 90 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever. Because you're going to be stopped by the chair and faculty members, and you're going to have to say it over and over and over, and you got to have a long one and a short one and a medium one, So we bring in Wolfgang Kleiman, many of you know him, he's Associate Vice President for research here, and he's a very funny man, and he gives this wonderful talk on research statements. And then he has made this outline that's corresponding to his talk that gives prompts so they can write in there. And he used to do this on paper, and we have now imported it into ThinkSpace so it helps them, and we carry it forward into a document. And then we have this workshop, just like we talked about before with the duct tape and the experts again. And so we're going to show you this. This one's a little different. We first have them, we line them up in two lines. So in ways that you're going to have people of very different disciplines facing each other. And then we have them shake hands, and that's their partner. And so then they go away, and everybody has to bring in a recording device, usually a phone. And they pick out which one goes first. And they have to explain their research to somebody that is in a totally different discipline so they can understand it. And they get 2 minutes, and they record it. And then, keeping the recording on, their partner has to tell them what they just heard for 2 minutes.
And then they're like,
Yeah.
And they've got that as recording, and then they
Is
switch.
that what I said? I didn't say that. Is that what you understood?
Then they switch, and then we have them do the shaking hands with another one, and they do it again. And then we assign them to go out and, ask their mom or some other intelligent non-expert and do it again.
but no phase 2 there. They have to reflect on what they learned from that. So then they're like, oh, well, my partner didn't know what an aphid was, so I can tell them what an aphid is. So, like, there's stuff they learned from those in-class activities that we want them to reflect on and capture, and they're not going to do it unless they have to write it out.
So they upload their recording, they reflect on it, and then we have Wolfgang's outline here. And he's got this, he has this hourglass way of doing it. He's got a very wonderful spiel that he gives. And this corresponds perfectly to it. So once you write this in there, it carries what you wrote into this. And I can go in and again, Amanda has got hers in here. And this all carried forward for her first draft, right? According to his outline. And then she was able to upload it into a PDF here.
Wow.
And now, then they do the comments, and we do the same thing. We go through the writing center, we go through their mentor, and then they come up with this beautiful research.
By the time it gets to the mentor, it's really nice. By the time it gets to us,
Can you hear a recording?
I don't want to. I want to
Take
take
up
up
the
time.
time. Okay.
So, okay, I've got one more here.
it's increased our pleasure of grading and everything by.
It's fun now. Everybody's laughing.
Look at
there
that!
they
Look
are.
at that smile.
They're doing their research statement right there, and they're in really good moods.
And those are 2 international students that are closest to us. Actually, 3.
4.
4.
Yeah, really.
It's like,
And that whole team has only got one domestic. Actually, there's more international students in our class now than there are.
It's 10, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you 10 years ago, my international students were like, please don't call on me. Please God, don't call on me or whatever, right? And now they're like, please God. They feel accepted.
Yeah, she's
And
British.
they all probably come from this culture. So I can see that culture change happening right here.
She's British.
All of them come from this
He's
culture.
from the Middle East. She's from France, and he's from China. So
Yeah, I mean, covering the world
The
is.
thing is, they become through this more polished and stand out because they've been willing to subject themselves to this sort of peer learning, which has some implications actually.
Great diverse ideas and connecting to each other.
The stuff has really changed from when I took it.
So this is going to be the last one that I'm going to show you, and this is actually a TBL 4S for those of you that are in TBL 4S assignment. And so we find that PFF is really good about the content, and Karen gives us a little talk on the content, and we do a checklist, and we have them, do all the content. But the formatting, the research on hiring committees shows that the average person on the hiring committee looks at each vita for how many minutes, do you suppose?
24 minutes.
Right.
I think it's actually it. 15 seconds.
15 seconds? Not even a minute.
15 seconds. So we partnered with Carla Weiner, who is from the English department. She taught there as a lecturer for years. And she did a little podcast on this design for non-designers. And so we flip the class and we have them look at her podcast. And it's a really entertaining way of looking at design. And she does it very effectively. And it has the acronym of CRAP. Contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity. And then she shows all these examples of good and bad. And actually she helped me make mine look better, and she shows the before and after, et cetera. And so they come armed with that, and then everybody uploads their Vita in ThinkSpace, and each team is a hiring committee. And so we have the whole class's stuff in there, and it's not unusual to have 50 or 100 Vitas that you're having to look at in a hiring committee. So we give them 15 seconds per Vita, and they have to analyze it according to these CRAP principles. And then they have to find their favorite one, the one that most adheres to those principles, and then the second one, and then why they would, and what they would do to improve them. They do that individually, right, on ThinkSpace, and they're just clicking through the tabs, the phases. And then once they do that individually, then they have to work it out as a team, which one they think is the best and the second best. And then as a class, we have them do a simultaneous report on, who has, and then I'm able to post the Vita on ThinkSpace.
So, alignment, you can see her address and her kinesiology and her exercise. So what they say is a lot of times you want to try and have your name and your address and then other stuff. People try and put those into a different box. It's much more effective if everything is in a line up in some way or another. So that would be alignment. And we try and teach them these 4 principles.
Okay, so here is her first draft. Here's, again, you can comment on these things. I'm going to go to the next phase.
So this is where we had them report out of what they said when they were commenting on each other's Vita.
So when you say that they're clicking, what you meant was they're commenting on how you were saying they're clicking on the
yeah, they click on, after they click show, and it loads the PDF.
And then the comment.
Yeah, but it only works with PDF. So if you're asking your students, make sure they understand it's PDF, and then right before the due date or whatever, you yourself as an instructor just look through, because every now and then some of them will have uploaded a document, and then write those people take really, we need a PDF, can you go PDF, can you go back in and put it. There's always a couple of us forget. So as an instructor, we can't keep that in mind.
What's her name? Carla
Weiner.
W-E-I.
Yeah, and I can give you the link. It's we recorded it with Panopto.
So here's one of her drafts after. You can see how much more fun that is to look at when you're doing your 15 seconds of looking at it. Wow. You still have the first draft open in a different tab?
Yes. So here.
It wasn't so bad.
Oh, that's the research statement. Sorry. That's the research statement. I don't.
Yeah.
You see that the contrast, she's using some red there. Repetition of design elements are what those diamonds are. The alignment is still beautiful. So just, they learn the
alignment helps a lot.
The author is named Robin Williams, but not that Robin Williams. Ooh. And the book is called Design for Non-Designers. The Design for Non-Designers Handbook or something like that. And we have copies of Sears itself for borrow if you would like.
Yeah.
So here's some quotes from students. I'm just going to read the stuff that's in bold. It was great to have so much feedback on my own from my peers, my mentor, and the writing center. I was amazed at what came out of my mind during the non-stop writing session. I tried this activity at home, but was not as successful. The energy in the room that day really helped. And I've seen them over and over.
And see, in the middle it says I found these extraordinary and difficult to write, so I appreciated this,
My writing speed and quality boosted a lot over this semester. So then it's great.
That's great.
Found peer review really helpful in having group members outside my discipline help me think about my application in a way. Having peer review has increased my confidence. I like the process of writing multiple iterations and seeing it evolve. I really like seeing her evolution.
You know, one of the things that's really interesting with the comments, just very quickly, if I can contribute this, is the things, the words like really, especially.
Yeah,
You know, that's different than appreciated, or I found it useful, or it was helpful, but I really liked it. I found, so that says a little bit more about the emphasis. So the affective, yeah.
Because you get the independence. And those 5 quotes I mined from like 25 that I found that were saying a positive thing. Sometimes a student will be like, well, I wanted more people in my discipline, in my group. But then 5 students will say, wow, I was really glad that I had different people. Like anytime you have a speaker come into class, that was the worst thing ever. Then 10 other people, that was the best thing we've ever had. You're like, were you guys sitting in the same room? That's just students for you. But we've got great feedback.